all the time is because the only way that we can get anything done is if we let our love light, the original light that we were given, shine. And a lot of times we think we can't do it ourselves. We can't, but we're not by ourselves when we stand with other people like this. So I'm grateful for all the work that has gone in to this project, the Golden Rule Project. I appreciate the determination to sail around the world in that little bitty boat to make people know that we want our children to live. We want our families to live. We want to have peace. I have another song that I want to sing. When we get together like this, when we do what we're supposed to do, then we can make a big change. And I appreciate you standing here, even in the rain, coming together and making sure that our voices are heard. But when we come together, we can make things be all right. And so I'm going to sing a song that I love to sing. It's by Bob Marley. It's an encouraging song for all of you that are in the fight and doing what you need to do to keep fighting. And so it goes like this. Woke up this morning, smiling at the rain clouds. 3 little birds sat on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, a melody pure and true, saying, this is my message to you. Oh, singing, don't worry about a thing when we work together, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright, be alright. Saying, don't you worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, put on my protest shoes, and I know what I got to do. I got to use this voice, make the people hear it loud, saying, even when there's a little bit of rain clouds, hey, saying, don't worry about a thing, 'cause love gon' conquer all. Every little thing gonna be alright. Saying, don't you worry about a thing. Yeah, every little thing gonna be alright. Yeah, everybody keep working, man. You gotta keep working. And when somebody else sees you working, they get the courage to stand up and work too. And then when we work together and we work in love, it is true that love conquers all. I know there's madness all around us. But what good is freedom if they blow it all up? We don't have any freedom anymore. We don't have any life. So we got to stand together. I appreciate y'all asking me to be here today. And unfortunately, I was going to play my drum, but I'm scared to play my drum in the rain right now.
I don't agree with Bonnie.
This is a song that I wrote myself, and I think that the majority of you standing here know this song to be true, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. When we look at the magazines and newspapers, they're always trying to get us to be something other than what we are. And so this song is called Be You. All right?
want to walk on that cruise ship. I don't want to bother you.
Tucson Liberator.
I'm gonna try. Oh, I know this. I didn't come to save your soul. I ain't a preacher man with the answers. Everybody different. What I believe is for me, and still it is the foundation upon which every day I'm living. Ever gives you strength to be you. If you can't be yourself, then what you gonna do? I know they trying to make it hard for you to take it. Hard to be alone, but be you, don't be a clone. Cause whatever gives you strength to break free, you best to run with that, cause otherwise you're gonna see your future days be bitter. Cold, cold of winter, you're gonna need your strength. You got to be you. That's all that you can do. You got to be you. That's all that you can do. Be you. All that you can do. Be you. That's all that you can do. I didn't come to convert you. Just speaking out my thoughts really help me. Don't you be offended. The truth is that this love is pumping from my heart to the world, and it's really open-ended. Whatever gives you strength to be you. If you can be yourself, then what you gonna do? I know they trying to make it hard for you to take it. Hard to be alone, but be you, don't be a clone. Cause whatever gives you strength to break free, you best to run with that, cause otherwise you're gonna see your future days be bitter. Cold, cold of winter. Why you gonna need your strength? You got to be you. That's all you can do. Be you. That's all that you can do. Be you. All you can do. Be you. Yeah. That's all that you can do.
Keep it up, keep it up. Hey, Paul, make a quick announcement between numbers, will you? Yeah, let Paul make an announcement. Paul, make an announcement. Make an announcement.
We'll have another song in just a minute, then we'll get started. I just want to, first of all, of course, welcome everyone here. Your Master of Ceremonies is going to be Bonnie, and she'll be here in just a minute. But anyone who has not yet signed a postcard to Senator Markey, Senator Warren, and to your federal legislator in Congress, please go over to the table and sign one. We've got a big postcard campaign going to call for ceasefire and negotiations in Ukraine. This is for all the differences we may have with each other. We're hoping that we can all come together around a demand that this war must stop, and it must stop as soon as possible. In other words, now. So please come over. If you have not signed a postcard yet, come over to the table over here, and then let's make sure everyone here, at least who agrees with the call for a ceasefire and negotiations, signs one of those cards.
Another song?
I'm trying.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I don't want you to. I don't have my drum out. Don't.
Jack, this is Sochi. Yeah, I met her now. Yeah, I met her in the office. Yeah. Okay. No, you're supposed to do three, not one. Yeah. Warren, Markey, and your own representative. And where you live.
All right, I got you.
Oh, where's the address? This is the address over here. Buddy, come here. What's your rep?
Hey, ooh, yeah.
So you write your name.
Hey, ooh. What we need more than ever is love.
You really need that?
They dropping bombs all over the world. We need peace and no more war. So many people in the ground, but who's keeping score? We need peace and justice right now. We need peace and justice right now. We need peace and justice right now. We need peace. How we gonna get it? We get it all done. The only way is we stand together, together as one. Whether the sun is shining or you feel the drops of rain, ain't no way we gonna stop them without just a little bit of pain. We need peace and justice right now. We need peace and justice right now. We need peace and justice right now. We need peace. Look inside your heart. Don't know what to do. Well, love is the start. Love for somebody else besides you. When you stand up, spirit gonna tell you what to do. Hey, we need peace and justice right now. We need peace. Justice right now. We need peace and justice right now. We need peace. Thank you.
Not so much to the people who are like gathering, but people passing through.
Yeah, let's get the mic set up here.
Ready for your postcard experience?
Ready for my postcard experience.
So you're going to write your name 3 times. We got Marky, Warren, and your representative. Good.
Welcome to all of you peaceniks. We are here representing Mass Peace Action, Veterans for Peace, and all of the anti-nuclear actionistas are here in Massachusetts. We've got lots on the agenda, so I'll move right along between rain showers. First, we want to welcome the Golden Rule crew and staff, and they're coming up, so give them a round of applause. Jerry Condon and Helen Jacquard and the crew are coming up, and they're going to tell you a little bit about their story.
You should put it on so that we want to convince them a real voter.
This is all about the little boat that could stop the possibility of nuclear war. We're very happy to see you all today. Boston has been a wonderful stop. So many great organizations. We're very happy to be here. I see Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Veterans for Peace, Massachusetts Peace Action, and I think about a dozen other organizations have come together to make this stop so wonderful.
Right. Woohoo! Woohoo!
So thank you. Just a little brief, I don't know if everybody knows, but this is the boat that helped to stop nuclear weapons testing in 1958 after the United States had used 67 nuclear weapons there. 67 in the Marshall Islands. And this little boat was sailed towards there. They got stopped in Hawaii. A second boat took over and did make it into the Marshall Islands. And then many, many decades later in 2010, Veterans for Peace found her and decided to bring her back again. And now we have a mission to sail for a nuclear-free world and a peaceful, sustainable future. And we're very, very happy to be a project of Veterans for Peace. And the Smedley Butler Brigade of Veterans for Peace is right here in Boston. So I'd like to introduce the crew. Captain Debbie Weeks, First Mate Bill Good, Deckhand Zoe Bird, and Deckhand Steve Baggerly.
Hey, Steve!
Hi, Steve! And we have the former president of National Veterans for Peace, Jerry Condon, right here as well.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry!
Maybe you guys would like to say a few words.
Postcards, anyone? Postcards for peace? Have you signed?
It's been an honor and a privilege to be captain of the Golden Rule for our little New England lake. And one thing that I've really enjoyed is meeting all the people at the different ports and all the support that you give us and our joint mission for world peace and to just educate and let people know, hey, this is what's going on. Can we change the world? Can we make it more peaceful? As an educator, this really fits right in with what I really enjoy doing. And but what I enjoy doing most is sailing that boat, and it's been a wonderful opportunity for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the organizers that have welcomed us here to Boston and housed us and fed us and supported us here. And it's wonderful to see all of you out here sending a message to your representatives that we're tired of exploitation of these big corporations that are going to profit from war. And hopefully with your message, we can try to change that and make our world a little bit better place to live. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Bill Good. I'm the first mate of the Golden Rule.
Hey, Bill. Sign your postcards. Sign your postcards.
I'm Zoe Bird from Northern California, and I'm one of the changing crew on the Golden Rule Peace Boat. I've been involved since 2016. on the Golden Rule Peace Boat project, and I've been involved in the peace movement since the 70s, late 70s, and I got involved with the Nuclear Weapons Freeze campaign, which I came to learn a couple days ago, started here in Massachusetts. So you guys have a long history of opposing these weapons of mass destruction and ridding the world of nuclear weapons. Thank you. All right, Zoe.
I'm Steve Bagley. I'm with the Catholic Worker in Norfolk, Virginia. And as you folks see here as well, every day in Norfolk, we have friends who are living outside and on the street and don't have enough to eat and nowhere to go. And then we look at the U.S. is going to spend about $2 trillion modernizing its entire nuclear weapons complex over 30 years. I mean, that kind of thing cries out to God for, don't know what for, but it cries out to God. And just really appreciate all the work that people do here, the ways that you work for justice and for peace and against nuclear weapons in your communities. I mean, that's what it's going to take for us to hand on a better planet to our children and their children. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve.
Hello, I'm Jerry Condon. So, Veterans for Peace restored this boat, which was kind of a wreck, and sunken wreck in Humboldt Bay, Northern California. Took them 5 years, from 2010 to 2015. They had a lot of help from not only members of Veterans for Peace, some of whom were out there every day for 5 years, volunteer labor to put this boat together, but we had Quakers with us, we had wooden boat lovers with us, and we relaunched the boat and its mission for a nuclear-free world and a peaceful, sustainable future in June of 2015. So we've been sailing for 8 years. First 5 years, basically up and down the west coast of the United States, from British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California, even to Baja, Mexico, to go out sailing with our Deported Veterans chapter in Tijuana, Mexico. And then we were in Hawaii for 2 years, to all the Hawaiian Islands. We intended to go to the Marshall Islands, where the original destination of the 1958 crew, and then on to Guam, Okinawa, and Japan. But that was 2020, and COVID shut all those places down. We had to come up with a plan B, so we brought the boat back to California. That's a month-long voyage coming back from Honolulu to San Francisco. And then we decided to fulfill the vision of the people who put the boat back together, which was to sail through all the navigable waterways of the United States with a message of peace and nuclear disarmament. And so that's what we're doing. This current voyage, we're sailing what's called the Great Loop. We began in Minneapolis in September, went down the Mississippi River, into the Ohio River, the Tennessee River, the Tombigbee River, to the Gulf of Mexico, to Florida, even made a side trip to Cuba, came back up. We've been coming all the way up the East Coast into the Potomac. We went to Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York. We visited every single congressional office and Senate office and delivered the Veterans for Peace Nuclear Posture Review. We met with multiple UN missions at the United Nations. We're getting a great reception everywhere we go. And we're also very concerned about the imminent threat of nuclear war that's presented by the clash of two nuclear superpowers in Ukraine. And the Veterans for Peace, along with the Massachusetts Peace Action and many other groups, Women's International League for Peace included, are part of what's called the Peace in Ukraine Coalition. And we're pushing for a ceasefire immediate to stop that killing as soon as possible. There's tens of thousands of soldiers dying on a regular basis on both sides, civilians also. And the longer the war goes on, the greater destruction in Ukraine, and the greater the risk that it could escalate even to a nuclear war. And there are actually many experts who believe that we're closer to a possible nuclear war now than we were during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. So I encourage all of you to check out peaceinukraine.org. That's the Peace in Ukraine Coalition, of which many of us are part. Ongoing education, a lot of education is needed. We're up against a deluge of propaganda and a lot of confusion about the war in Ukraine. Whatever you think about that war and who's most at fault, there's plenty of blame to go around. I think that most of us can agree that it needs to end as soon as possible before it ends us. So that's a very strong and imminent message. But it also should be a wake-up call that if we can be this close to nuclear war, and we see that possessing nuclear weapons doesn't stop anybody from going to war, but it just presents an even greater danger. So once we survive, hopefully this terrible war in Ukraine ends as soon as possible, should give even more momentum to the worldwide effort to support the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, and for all the 9 nuclear armed nations to come together and come up with a plan for how they will make dramatic, simultaneous reductions and eventually eliminate all nuclear weapons. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Terry. I think we're going to have to raise that mic.
Okay. This is
That's true.
Representative Mike Conley from Cambridge and Senator Jamie Eldridge. And we have this is from the Senate. And this is from the House. Excuse me, this one is from the governor.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. It's so wonderful to see you all again. I had the honor of joining all of you and the crew here on Sunday down by the waterfront park, where we presented a citation from the House of Representatives that was sponsored by myself, Representative Balzer, Representative Eiderhoven, and Representative Sabadoza. And by the way, if I didn't mention your rep's name, it's no indictment of them. We didn't have time to get all of the names, so there's no prejudice there. But just wanted to say a couple of quick words before we present this citation from the governor. The actual physical citation from the House is with our project manager here. Is it the captain or the project manager? Who's the captain? The captain. Excuse me, Captain. Didn't want to usurp your authority here. Thank you for all your service. But just wanted to repeat a quick brief word about what I said on Sunday. And it really was personal for me. Sunday was Father's Day, and my father was an avowed member of Veterans for Peace. He actually served in the Coast Guard during the time of the Korean War and was a veteran with the Coast Guard. Incidentally, and I actually looked it up, he was in the North Atlantic, not the Pacific, so he didn't have anything to do with intercepting the Golden Rule, thankfully, and I would have been surprised if he did. But it is really important that we recognize this vessel. You know, I think the Golden Rule has been credited with being the first seafaring vessel to engage in direct action, in environmental direct action, in peace action in history. And that is a legacy that we really ought to uplift, even as we have the Extinction Rebellion protesters holding vigil right now at the State House, and they took over the Senate chamber briefly last week. It's that kind of direct action that the Golden Rule in particular really was groundbreaking for. So yes, let's hear it for that, both for the Golden Rule and for our climate activists. And we know there's that connection, that these are the two existential threats that
all of humanity faces: climate destruction, nuclear annihilation. And, real briefly, I'll just mention, I just want to echo some of what was said a little earlier, that this is not just about saving the planet, it's not just about saving lives, it's not just about preserving humanity, which should be common sense, but unfortunately it's a struggle, but it's also about economic justice. Right now, I'm going to take you down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but go with me, please. Right now, we're having a big debate about tax relief on Beacon Hill, and I'm proud to say that I was one of the first members of the House to stand up and say no tax cuts for the rich, no tax cuts for big corporations.
That's right.
I'm proud that my colleague, Senator Eldridge, and his Senate progressive colleagues, they took that message and they carried it into the Senate, and they passed a bill that did not do tax cuts for the rich and didn't provide excessive tax breaks for corporations. So that's really hopeful. But I'm going to connect all of this with a little thought I had this weekend. I'm always coming up with new thoughts, so please bear with me. And so the latest thought is, why are we facing so much pressure to do tax cuts right now? There's a very specific reason. And it's back in the year 2017, Donald Trump and the Republicans gave so much money away to the rich, and they gave so much money away to big corporations, that they actually had a moment and said, oh my goodness, we went too far. They actually said, we went too far. What we just did with tax cuts, it was too much. And so they said, what we're going to do to roll it back just a little is we're going to cap state and local tax deductions, the SALT deduction. You may have heard of this. Yeah. It used to be unlimited. It's been capped at $10,000. And that's actually a progressive thing, but hang with me here. It's not really implemented in a fair way. It pits blue states like Massachusetts against red states. And that was, when Trump and the Republicans said we had to come up with revenue, they said, all right, let's do it that way at least. We'll come up with some revenue and we'll penalize the blue states. And so I only mention that to say we can't continue with this cap. It's harming Massachusetts. What we have to do is cut the military budget. That's the way that we address that federal budget deficit. We don't pit red state against blue state. We don't do tax cuts for the rich. We have to cut that military budget. So all of these items connect. So with that, I'm going to wrap up my little soliloquy. I'm going to present, we have, again on Sunday, we presented a citation from the Massachusetts House. We've also obtained a citation honoring the Golden Rule Peace Boat from our governor, Her Excellency Maura Healey, as well as the Lieutenant Governor, Kimberly Driscoll. And so they've asked me to present this today. And it says, on behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we are pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation in recognition of your noble cause, sailing to multiple ports to advocate against the proliferation of nuclear weapons and the fight for a safe and peaceful world. This 18th day of June in the year 2023, signed Maura Healey and Kim Driscoll. So allow me to present that to you. Maybe we'll stop for a photo or two, and then, all right, grab your pics, please.
Wow.
And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my Senate colleague, one of my personal heroes, actually, going back over a decade, Senator Jamie Eldridge, and I believe he will discuss not only the Golden Rule, but also our legislation that we filed together to divest from nuclear weapons in Massachusetts. Something that we in Massachusetts have been a leader on, whether it's divestment from the apartheid regime in South Africa, divestment from tobacco. We're now moving toward divestment from fossil fuels, and we will divest from nuclear weapons as well. So let's hear it from my colleague, Senator Eldridge.
Thank you so much, Representative Connolly, and always proud to stand side by side with you on so many progressive issues. And I look out and see people that I know have been leaders on peace issues for decades. Obviously, I want to thank Veterans for Peace, the Golden Rule, Mass Peace Action, and it's wonderful to see a lot of new people here, young people here as well. And I think that's the thing that really has come about because of the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, is that a lot more young people are asking a lot more questions about how did we go from the U.S. being so deeply involved in the war in Ukraine without not a lot of debate. And as has been said by the previous speaker before Representative Connolly and I spoke, when you think about the nuclear war threat, we have not been in a greater stage of nuclear war threat now since the Vietnam War. It really hasn't been a big issue in our nation or our world since then, and now it's come back because you're dealing with superpowers that are involved in Eastern European country. So I want to thank everyone for being so vigilant, for being so active, because I think that this is one of those issues that we know we're right, but we really need to continue to reach out and educate people and raise questions about, to Representative Connolly's point, the massive amount of spending, the increase in spending of the military budget that's happening in part as a result of the war in Ukraine. Raise up questions about how involved should the U.S. be in terms of weapons of destruction, and really have this discussion about the military-industrial complex. Is that the best use of billions and billions of taxpayer dollars? One of the things that I've brought up at some of the Mass Peace Action rallies and meetings is the district I represent includes Devens, including the former military base Fort Devens. And when the base was closed, there was a lot of concern about the loss of jobs, the impact on the economy. But now, in an area that has a very small presence of military servicemen and women and military agencies in general, there are far more jobs, there's far more economic development in the area as it's run by the state than it was when it was a military base. And I think that's an important thing to remember speaking to the nuclear divestment bill that Representative Connolly and I have filed. Is it's not just a moral issue, it's not just about right or wrong, it's not just about spending, but it's also about sound economic development that lifts up every Massachusetts resident. And what we know is that military spending does not create many jobs, and it actually leads to the world being at risk of being destroyed. So very proud to file the legislation, an act relative to the divestment of state pension funds from nuclear weapons. As Representative Connolly said, we've divested related to apartheid, we've divested due to tobacco. There is a growing movement around climate. The two greatest existential threats to our world are climate and nuclear weapons. So let's build the momentum for divesting our pension funds, our taxpayer dollars, our money that's going to pay for a whole host of investments. Nuclear weapons companies like Raytheon should not be part of that equation. So thank you so much for being here. I have a citation as well from Senator Sue Moran to the Golden Rule sailboat, so I can present that to you. Okay. So this is a state Senate citation from my colleague, Senator Sue Moran. I'm happy to lend my name as well. Saying, be it hereby known, the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to the Golden Rule sailboat in recognition of welcoming the Golden Rule sailboat to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in support of a nuclear-free world and for bringing people of all backgrounds together for the greater good. The Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success. And this is signed by Senate President Karen Spoka and State Senator Sue Moran, as well as State Senator Jamie Eldridge. Thanks so much for being here. Keep up the fight. Honored to stand here with you. Thank you.
I would really like to thank the Senate and the House and the Governor's Office in Massachusetts for these citations, and I would really like to emphasize the importance of what Massachusetts has done to educate its policymakers and its people about the need to eliminate nuclear weapons and to address climate change and a lot of other progressive issues. I salute you so much. This education is really important because people listen to the policymakers like you, and when you turn out to do something wonderful like this, all the rest of the people are going to learn and listen, and maybe they'll divest their own pension funds from nuclear weapons or weapons in general. So thank you so much for the hard work you've been doing against the odds of passing this sort of proclamation and educating everybody. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. My name is Ruth C. Louisiane, and I am an at-large city councilor here in Boston, which means I represent the entire city of Boston on the Boston City Council. And I really am just here today to be in solidarity with all of you, with the work that you are doing, the education, as you were stating, to tell folks about the harm involved in the proliferation of nuclear weapons. I think my colleagues in government, the senator and the representative, said it well. I always want to be able to make a moral argument as to why something is wrong, a humanitarian argument as to why it's wrong. But if those can't succeed, if we can't get allies on those fronts, we make the economic argument. And the economic argument is that military spending is not in anyone's interest, and it is not what is building a strong economy. It's not what's feeding our families here in the Commonwealth. We have the same argument. We have the same argument when it comes to gun manufacturing, and we no longer have gun manufacturing happening here in the Commonwealth because of a lot of reasons. And there's a lot we can do with people power in terms of divestment. I see a sign that says no one wins in a nuclear war. No one wins in a nuclear war. And when we are at war and when there are powers that have access to these weapons, no one is safe. I remember the president running on getting us back into the Iran nuclear deal, and we're still waiting on that. We're still waiting on the progress that we need to see in order to live in a world that the foundation of which is peace. Right? I live as a city councilor. I don't have control over what our foreign relations, but I know that on a local level, every day we're fighting for a world in a city without violence, right? And that's all forms of violence, whether it be from nuclear weapons or man-made. And so all the efforts on the federal, state, and local level to build a world free of violence, free of harm is the work. And so I congratulate you on being out here and doing the education and convincing folks and trying to convince folks to divest in our pensions from nuclear weapons and companies that invest in nuclear weapons. It is incredibly important that we build an awareness campaign because most folks don't know that their pensions can also be tied up in the proliferation of nuclear weapons. So the more you know better, you do better. And so I want to thank the Golden Rule for being out here, for sailing and sharing the truth, Mass Peace Action, Veterans for Peace. Because your voices are really central, especially our veterans who know the harms and the dangers and the ugliness and the ravages of war. So thank you. I did not come with a proclamation, but I come in solidarity and promise to be here on this issue and every other issue that you want to bring our attention to. So thank you, everyone.
Steve, thank you very much. Senator Eldridge and Representative Connolly, we're going to move you up to senator soon. At any rate, we do thank you for coming and participating. We do have a variety of well-informed advocates that are going to be speaking now. The first is a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He is going to come up. And Ira Helfand is with ICANN, and he's going to speak for a few minutes on the issues of nuclear weapons.
Thank you. Several people have commented today about the fact that we are closer to nuclear war than we've ever been. And that's the reality, and it's something which we have to understand, and which by and large we don't. I mean, even those of us who are here, who understand this issue somewhat, we're going about our daily lives as though everything was going to be okay. And in a sense, that's a reasonable thing to do. It protects us from going crazy, thinking about the danger we face. But at some level, we do need to understand just how serious the current problem is. And we need to take this moment and use it to build a movement that gets rid of these weapons. As Jerry pointed out in his remarks, We need to bring together the 9 countries that have nuclear weapons and get them to sit down and work out a verifiable, enforceable, time-bound agreement to get rid of them. And there is, in this country now, a national campaign to do just that. The Back from the Brink campaign, which started in 2017, right after the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted. We understood at the time that none of the nuclear weapon states were going to get rid of their weapons unless they all did. And so we called on the United States not to disarm unilaterally, but to show leadership, to reach out to the other countries that had nuclear weapons and to get them to enter into negotiations. And I think that is the path forward that we can follow that will lead to a successful elimination of nuclear weapons. Now, here in the Commonwealth, there is a bill before the State Senate, S 1487, that embodies the demands of this campaign. There's also in the U.S. Congress legislation, HRES 77, which does the same thing. We need to build support for these resolutions. 20 towns in Massachusetts have endorsed this campaign, including a unanimous vote by the Boston City Council, but our state legislature hasn't yet. 3 members of our congressional delegation are among the 29 who have endorsed HRES 77, but 6 haven't yet. Our two national senators have not yet introduced a resolution in the Senate comparable to the House resolution. They need to do that as well. And so we have our work cut out for us to build further support for this campaign. And I think that if we all do our part, it can be successful. You know, a lot of people are worried or push back when we talk to them about the need to do this at this time, saying, how can you talk about making progress in the middle of a war in Ukraine? The fact of the matter is that in previous occasions, the Cuban Missile Crisis in '62, the Euro Missile Crisis in '83, when we came this close to nuclear war in the past, those moments were followed almost immediately by rapid progress to lower the danger. It didn't happen automatically, and it won't happen automatically now. But when we come this close to nuclear war, the leaders of these countries, they kind of scare themselves. And sometimes in the aftermath of these crises, they're more open to thinking about what needs to change. And so let's take advantage of that. Let's push for the success of the Back from the Brink campaign, get S 1487 passed here in the state Senate, get HRES 77 adopted in the Congress, and let's get rid of nuclear weapons. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ira. We have Kathleen Hamill, who is a nuclear disarmament advocate and a human rights lawyer.
Thank you, Bonnie. First of all, Bonnie Gorman has done an enormous amount of work to bring this all together, as has Kathy Malley-Morrison and a number of other people here with Mass Peace Action, of which I am a proud part. As Bonnie said, I'm an advocate for nuclear disarmament. I could not be happier to see this turnout today. I am here to speak a little bit about the 3 bills, 2 of which have already been mentioned. These 3 bills at the Massachusetts state level are meant to push Massachusetts to lead the nation in nuclear disarmament, in thinking about our own responsibility as individuals to really get us away from excessive Pentagon spending, investment in nuclear weapons producing countries, to think about these important issues that most of us, as Dr. Helfand mentioned, unfortunately just go by and don't give enough thought, energy, or attention in our daily lives. So let me just highlight a few points from each one of these bills, if that's okay with you, and also just again to say to my friends Louise Coleman and Lynn Hall and Jonathan King and everybody who's here today, just Kate Cloud, and I keep looking around to see everybody, we all have to stick together in solidarity and advocate for these bills and bring more people into the fold as we move forward. So I'll just mention one bill is called a Nuclear Weapons and Climate Commission Bill. This bill is H738. It is co-sponsored by 2 great legislators, Lindsay Sabadosa and Joe Comerford. Both are from Western Massachusetts, and they are advocating for a citizens special commission that would set up an expert committee of 11 people from the Commonwealth who would investigate what measures can be taken to address these 2 twin existential threats, what measures we can take immediately and in the long run as responsible citizens to move forward and transition away from nuclear weapons technologies production, development, storage, brain power, and move towards green technologies, degrowth, and all the other important aspects of the climate movement. We know today there are advocates from Extinction Rebellion and others that are calling for no new investment in fossil fuel infrastructure, an important part of this whole bill and where we want to see our Commonwealth moving. Let me just say that this commission would reflect well on Massachusetts, which is the cradle of academia at the end of the day here in the United States. Where is that brain power going? Should it go to Raytheon? And why should we stand for this? No, we want to see this going to moving away from military spending and away from nuclear weapons spending. Let me just comment briefly on the other two bills. This is a package. We're all in solidarity with each other. They are all so critically important as we move forward. The bill that Dr. Helfand was talking about is the Back from the Brink State Bill, number 1487, also put forward and introduced by our wonderful Senator Joe Comerford from Western Massachusetts. And this bill has important points which ask us to make sure that our federal government commits to no first use of nuclear weapons, which we have not done yet, unbelievably. It says the president should not have sole authority to launch nuclear weapons. That is a no-brainer. These are not things that should be in question. It asks us not to let our government spend trillions of dollars to replace and supposedly upgrade the whole entire nuclear arsenal in the United States. That's madness. We need to demand that our government move forward on these important items and others, including having an important agreement among the 9 nuclear-armed states that we are going to, not unilaterally, but together as a global community, de-escalate and move away from nuclear weapons in every way possible at the earliest possible moment. And take those weapons off of hair trigger alert. That's another point that I want to emphasize, very important. So please get behind S 1487 as well as the bill that I mentioned, the Citizens Commission on Nuclear Weapons, and of course the divestment bill, which we're